These two glasses here represent the amount of possession in a rugby league game split across the two teams. Whenever a team concedes possession, drops the ball, turns it over, concedes a penalty, this is what happens. By the end of this video, you're going to understand how this type of Ponzi scheme completely destroyed a top 4 team and what they can do to fix it. Okay, if you're still watching this, it means I didn't lose you with the Ponzi analogy. So let's quickly address that and move on. A Ponzi scheme is a fraud where you take the funds from your more recent investors and use it to pay the profits of your earlier investors. So just like those two glasses of water, money goes from one investor to another. There's no actual extra value created. Sorry, I don't actually have Margot Robbie or a bubble bath to help explain this. In other words, it's a complete scam. That's what the Parramatta Eels have been doing since about 2018. Not financial crimes, footballing crimes. In fact, there are 3 factors that contribute to it. Now, if you've ever heard Brad Arthur talk at a press conference, you'll hear plenty of times about winning the collision and front-loading effort. It's pretty basic stuff, and it's essentially what rugby league has been built on, physically dominating your opponent. But in 2023, that house of cards came tumbling down. So just how did that happen? Well, Parramatta rely heavily on making more metres than their opponent. It gets them up the field, it puts pressure on the opposition's defence, and it gives their halves a room to attack. It's what got them to the 2022 Grand Final. They're not the best in the competition at it, but they're not the worst either. In 2023, they were ranked 4th, but in 2022, they were ranked 2nd. The Broncos and Sharks improved incredibly well during this period, and they jumped ahead of Parramatta because Parramatta didn't improve much. They only improved their total run metres by about 49 metres per game last year, whereas Brisbane and Cronulla made 244 metres and 173 metres extra respectively when compared with their 2022 season. Penrith too also managed to continue to improve. They made nearly 200 more metres per match in 2023 compared to 2022. So Parramatta were essentially treading water in this department when compared with their opponents. So that's supporting card number 1 completely gone. Interestingly enough, the Cowboys had a similar problem, and they also suffered a pretty big drop off in performance compared to 2022. As I mentioned at the start, this kind of all centers around possession. So did Parramatta's possession rate actually go back last year? Yes, but weirdly they improved overall. So in 2022, they completed at 52%, but they were ranked 3rd in the competition for that stat. And in 2023, they were ranked 2nd, but they only had a possession rate of 50%. The 50-50 share of the ball is good, right? Last year, Parramatta had a 75.2% completion rate, which is the 2nd worst in the competition. Which brings us to point 3. If you read the newsletter that I write every week, link is in the description, you'll know that the big problem for Parramatta is their lack of defensive pressure. By that, I mean they give up more metres per run when they're defending than when they have the ball. And this is where that Ponzi scheme is seen in full effect. Parramatta, since the 6 again rule was brought in, really need 50% of the ball for their game plan to actually work. They have a set of tactics and a strategy that really only works across a full season if they hold the ball. There are some instances where that doesn't actually apply, weirdly enough against Penrith for some reason, and I'm going to do a future video on that, so subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss it. All is not lost though, and I'm going to get to how they can fix it. But first, one final little stat. Parramatta is the worst in the competition when it comes to conceding metres on 5th tackle. They give up more than 11 metres on that one play, and they give up a lot of metres late in sets. I'm now going to give you 2 tactics that will improve Parramatta's chances when it comes to making metres and staying in the contest. The first is their defensive intensity, and the Eels sit in the middle of the pack with this stat, and they concede about 8.94 metres per run. And Penrith are the best at 8.21 metres. So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. And Parramatta let their opposition get upfield about 6 metres before they come into contact. Penrith? Well, they're incredibly fast and physical. They give up just 5.49 metres before contact. And once you've hit that Penrith brick wall, you're only going to make about another 2.7 metres after contact. That shouldn't be incredibly surprising. Parramatta simply have to be better at getting off the line and being more physical in their contact, winning the collision, if you will. Even more important though, is not bleeding metres late in sets, which greatly benefits their opposition in terms of their kicking territory. Secondly, it's even more simple. What's this entire video been about? Possession. So what we have seen is that if Parramatta complete more than 50-50 possession, they tend to do pretty well. They win games consistently. But the moment that drops, their metres suffer and then their defence suffers. It has a snowballing effect. But there was a time that Parramatta didn't have these problems. And if you want to learn more about that, click this video right here.